This Saturday and Sunday, May 2nd and 3rd, at Trinity Lutheran Church in Newport News, the Virginia Chorale Society has a wonderful program, music of the English cathedral tradition. Now, those of you who are lovers of English music will probably know what sort of composers we're talking about and what sort of music. But just to clarify, I've asked Jim Powers to come in to talk about it. Jim is the artistic director of the Virginia Chorale Society and has put together just a marvelous program. Jim, I really like this because a lot of this is music that we don't hear on this side of the ocean very often.
That's true. Most of it takes a lot of singers to produce as well, so that's another good reason.
Mm-hmm. So it does take a large chorus for these.
Yes. Besides four-part singing, there's some double chorus music in here as well. And the size and scope of the music is very large, very glorious, very exultant.
For those big English cathedrals.
It does. And,
right.
and then for the sonorities of those big cathedrals.
Yeah. The likes of Vaughan Williams, Hubert Parry, Herbert Howells, and of course Elgar, that quintessential English Victorian composer. English cathedral music very often calls for those high boys' voices. How are you going to accomplish that?
We have some very high female voices.
That's what I thought. Right.
Indeed.
Right.
It's glorious stuff. Yeah. Of course, the English choral church tradition uses boys in all the major churches and cathedrals in England, and it's just the style of the music. But we don't have enough boys to do that locally.
Right, I understand that. But the range is the same, but do the ladies have to sing a bit differently here?
Yes, they're asked to please sing with very straight tones and a pure sound, which emulates that sound. And plus, that's true of English singing always. It's not as romantically voluptuous. It's the sonorities are much clearer and deeper in English music with a straight voice. You hear all the overtones, and it amplifies what you do.
Right. And is Trinity Lutheran a good venue for this?
It's always been a good venue for us. We traditionally fill up the church and has a nice organ in there. It's a very nice organ. And we enjoy singing there very much.
And you're getting to sing in English, which is sometimes a change for choruses.
Sometimes it's a foreign language for us, since we sing in Latin and German and Italian so much.
Exactly.
Yes, but the English cathedral tradition also includes Latin as well. So there are a few motets, a couple of motets in there in Latin, and an Ave Verum Corpus by Elgar, which is in there.
Very good.
But we provide complete translations, and the rest is in English.
Two performances of the music in the English cathedral tradition this Saturday, May 2nd, 8 p.m. at Trinity, and then Sunday, May 3rd, 8 p.m. at Trinity Lutheran Church. The Virginia Chorale Society offering up this concert, and you can get your tickets by calling 851-9114, 851-9114, or going to the website VAChoralesociety, all one word, .org. We're talking with Jim Powers, the artistic director of the society. Jim, does this English music, in terms of the notes themselves, differ from...
Oh, you hit on something. You know what you're talking about. Some of the English publishing houses, Stainer and Bell and Kerwin and a few others, use an older English, and still do, idea of when you look at an eighth rest, you might be deceived. They turn it around backwards, and it serves as a quarter rest. And if you are not ready to receive that kind of information, you'll go completely by it and wonder what happened.
Right. So this music, though in English, and though in some cases relatively familiar in the English tradition, it does take a little preparation.
It does. It's a completely different style. I know the singers are very excited about it. It's a sonority you don't get to hear in church music very often, simply because of the forces it takes to perform it. This particular concert is done with organ and designed with organ.
Right.
So the full sonorities of what the composers intended is there.
Yeah.
And we deliver it with the kind of verve that all these pieces deserve. Of course, other composers, one of the most famous of all the pieces was C. Hubert Parry. I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord, is the very first piece we open with, and it will set the tone for everything else. It's just huge.
Wonderful. I love the fact that this music is rich and warm and big, and yet there's an astringency to it.
Indeed. They can be very, very poignant in the words. Herbert Howells his music has a blending of French Impressionism, various scales, whole tone scales, and that are not normally in church music, and it gives a mystic feel to it. And when he exalts, no one exalts any better than he does. And of course, C.V. Stanford is in this program, John Stainer.
Yeah. Some great names,
yes, indeed,
in the English cathedral tradition, and that's the basis of the concert coming up Saturday and Sunday. The Virginia Chorale Society giving us a taste of Old England, coming up Saturday and Sunday. Again, 851-9114 or vachoralsociety.org online. Jim, thank you as always for coming in.
It's a pleasure. Pleasure for you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.